Hello, fellow adventurers. We wanted to make a video about crossing the border from Belize into Guatemala by car. The reason we did this is because we really wanted to enjoy Belize and all of it has to offer with the coast and all the waterfalls and all the beautiful things. And we wanted to run into Tikal and check out the rainforest and jungle there. We stayed at a beautiful little lodge in El Ramate, which is on Lake Payten. We drove into Flores. We did all kinds of cool stuff. However, we were a little nervous about crossing the border because we had read a lot of things that it was complicated and don't do it, things like that. But we actually found that it was quite a little adventure, and without much instruction, we thought it'd be nice to put the steps down on paper and provide some visual direction in the form of a video to help other travelers do the same thing. So we flew into Belize City, and we got a rental car at the Crystal Rental Car Agency right there at the airport. They are the only rental car agency that will allow travelers to pass into Guatemala and to travel around the Payten area, especially to see the Mayan ruins of Tikal. And let's see, we let them know ahead of time so that they were able to get all the paperwork and things in order and rent us the correct vehicle with four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, whatever, and high clearance so that we could navigate all of the speed bumps, topes, pedestrian crossing bumps, massive rumble strips, and all the major potholes in Guatemala. And so we thought it was well worth it. In the section below for verbiage that we included the step-by-step instructions. And the first part of this video is choppy. It's just, I did small clips as we were going past the various stages as best as I could into Guatemala, and then when we exited Guatemala back into Belize. And at the very last, Martin was interviewed, and he was the person who drove around through and got us all the way through safely. So that is what this video should cover. And if you have any questions like where we stayed, what else was going on in the rainforest, or whatever, I'm going to post some more videos of like howlers and toucans and, you know, the wind at the top of and the sunset at the top of one of the temples, things like that shortly. But thought we would get this video out first, so stay tuned. Hi everybody, we are at the Belize-Guatemalan border, and it's a process apparently to cross the border, and so we just wanted to post a video to help everyone figure that out easily. First thing we're going to do is, I believe, go into this building here. Right here, we parked the car, we're going to go in this building and get our passport stamped. Very first thing is to drive through that little gate. We didn't have to do anything at the gate. So next up, we're gonna head in and get our passport stamped. I believe it's $20 US, but I'll report back.
Hello.
And we paid the $20. Now we're to the next place, immigration. And I accidentally stopped it. Now we're done. So, no videos. That one will go videos. Alright, so we went ahead and paid $20 at the Belize border. We just got passport stamped at Belize. We got passport stamped again at the next booth in Guatemala. And so they were both in the same building. They are both in this building. And Martin is going back to grab the car, and he's going to drive it through and pick us up. And the next step is going to be the fumigation building and dancing. So recap of the steps. We went in the first building. We paid a $20 in cash, exact change fee per person. The place is open apparently from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. and got our passport stamped on the Guatemalan or the Belize by Belize immigration. And then we went straight down the hall, not very far. You could see the second booth, and then that's the Honduran. We got our passports reviewed and stamped again, no charge. And now we're waiting for fumigation. Our driver, Martin, went back out to the car to drive the car through, and Tav and Val are hanging out here with me. We're waiting for the car. That's the fumigation station. This is where we'll be driving the car through. Here's Martin at the border. They're letting him through. Here he come. Oh, he's asking questions. And here he comes.
Do we get in there? Do we get in? Oh.
Oh. Alright. Apparently we do not get in the car, but we're not entirely sure yet. Martin is driving the car through the fumigation place, which I'm not entirely sure what that's all about. But anyway, I don't know. For some reason, we're going through the, walking through this area. Anyway. And now we're making a payment at this place called Sol. We need the license plate. And it was 17 quetzales at this place. This next payment place. Now we're going across to this building, immigration to Guatemala.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
No, we didn't go.
I was wrong in that we passed into Guatemala, and now we're getting our passport stamped. The first booth was to pay. The second booth was to get our passport stamped in Belize, and then fumigation, and now we're in Guatemala Customs.
You're the one who's driving, okay?
Okay.
Who is the person in the paper of the rental? Yours or?
We got here at 7, which is a good idea because we got a full house now. Also, be careful to check all the stamps. We went through one of these places, and they forgot to stamp one of the passports. So now we're kind of waiting to figure out what's going on. And the fee here at the Guatemalan border is 160 quetzales. However, the bank is closed, and so there's a lady outside. We can just pay 200 quetzales, and somehow that is acceptable. So we're doing that process now. That is at this booth.
Yeah, that's like $10. That's 200 quetzales.
So the stamp, the paper, and we move through. We get a stamp here, and then there's a paper, and we go out to the building. Okay, cool. Okay, so the process.
Get help from Carla. She's the best.
Carla's the best. Yes, she basically took care of everything for us. We got her through Crystal Car Rental. I just took a picture of the information. So when we come back through, there's a sticker for the car, and then a piece of paper.
This is important.
Yeah, and we're gonna bring it back into the other side of and get our passport stamped in the same building, and then we take it across to another site, booth, and then we're back in the country.
And the booth is right by a beautiful Guanacaste tree that is hundreds of years old.
Guanacaste tree.
Hundreds of years old.
So
Booth by Guanacaste
what is the
tree.
fumigation stuff? I got on my shorts.
Okay.
Well, what is
All right, and so now we're headed through this other area. All right, well that was it.
That's great.
It took us maybe an hour to do all that, and it's just beautiful.
We'll call that the Mopan River.
Yeah.
Flows back.
Driver Martin. Yeah, thanks, Martin.
All right, so we're headed back across the border after a successful trip to the Payten and Tikal. And we're just approaching here. I think we have to give them an important paper that we collected. And here's the area we're going through. And we'll have to show them our passports. My understanding is we get our passports stamped with this important paper at the first, at the entrance. And then we go across the street under a big tree and hand them a sticker we've had on the car along with the paper. But there's the sticker that was been on the car. This was actually a little important because we were waiting behind a bunch of trucks and we got waved ahead, so we were supposed to go in front of all the trucks. And so we needed to pull up and pull over and get our passport stamped first, but there's a little bit of a congestion here. So we're just waiting to figure out where he's gonna let us park and go in to the building to get our passport stamped.
Okay, you're good.
Yeah, so this is interesting. There's a lot of congestion. So yeah, there's a lot of congestion here at the border. And so they're trying to park us somewhere so we can go in the blue building to get our passports.
Yeah, there's a guy standing right there though.
Yeah.
And then the blue building there. But we got a lot of travelers.
Go back. You're good.
Now?
Yeah, go.
And we're finally parked. And we're going into the building on the right. We're taking our passports and the sticker and the paper into the blue building on the right. And now we're in the building. It was just passport stamps, now we're leaving. Okay, so we just got our passport stamped and we're right back out. And then we're crossing over to go under the tree. Oh, actually we're not going here. Oh, we're moving the car up. Alright, now the driver, got out. Martin got out. And we're sitting here until further notice. So we've had a really nice policeman directing us at this point. I think that Martin has gone back over under the banyan tree to get the paper and sticker cleared or processed or whatever they're doing. And the rest of us are just sitting in the car waiting until that gets done.
Booth, and you go up and you go into the booth and wait for him to turn around and take your paper and your sticker. Mm-hmm. And he checks it with the computer and then you're on your way.
We're all good to go. All right, we're going across. Yep, and then we're driving through the rest. Oh, I guess we go through fumigation again. Was it over on the other side, the banyan tree?
Yeah.
There's a building that we checked into on the way in and out. Driving through fumigation, or at least the tunnel.
Yeah.
The fumigation tunnel. Doesn't look like much is happening here. And now we're coming into Belize. Looks like there was a little spray.
Passport.
We got pulled over for our passports, I believe. We don't know. And apparently we just needed to pay for the squirts of fumigation right here, $6 US. And now he's pointing us into the next step is to go through this section. Okay, so now we're going to enter into Belize, parking the car and going inside the BMA, Border Management Agency building. So there is a little line here at the Border Management for Belize. There are some people that needed to fill out another immigration form, but we did not need to do that because we were just in the Pay-10 for 3 days. So we did not have to fill out the extra form, but we're headed into immigration in Belize.
Yeah.
And there are two lines on the immigration. One on the left for foreign travelers, and the other on the right for Belize City citizens. And we're back in Belize. So that was both customs and immigration. The driver went back for the car, so Martin is bringing the car on through, and it was all good. It took us about 45 minutes to get back. And here goes Martin. He came through. Thankfully, they didn't ask us to open the tailgate because it's broken now somehow. We don't know what happened. Back in Belize. All right, so we successfully crossed the border with the help of our driver, Martin Hogue. And so he is going to give you an account of the process.
Hello, hola. Yo hablo un poquito de español, pero no es necesario. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but it's not necessary. What's probably more important is like you just kind of roll with it. And if you've ever crossed a border before, you just kind of roll with it. And you can do it. It's not that hard. So you'll come up to the place in Belize. Obviously getting through there is a little easier because they speak English. And then they kind of will direct you where to go. And the passengers will have to at times be separated from the driver, but it all works really smoothly. The Guatemalan side is a little trickier because of the language barrier and because it just seems a little more chaotic at the Guatemalan side, just depending on when you're crossing, and also if there's a lot of traffic and trucks and things like that. There weren't a lot of tourists doing it, but there were a lot of trucks and different people coming through for work and whatnot. But the people that are there, especially the police officers or immigration officers, they direct you really well. They'll tell you where to put the car. One thing that's tricky is since they don't have a lot of cars coming, they will tell you to park the car, and there's not really like, you're like, well, where do you park it? They'll just say over there, and they'll just have you park it on the side, but there's no real spot. So that can be a little tricky because you're like, well, where do I put it? Just put it out of the way. And even though sometimes there's not much room anywhere, and that can be going and coming back. And then, their tickets are really important. So you have to pay attention to their tickets, and you don't want to throw any of them away. A few of the places you have to pay exact dollar amounts. So it's good to have some quetzals and obviously some Belizean or US dollars. Some of the booths will take Visa, but they'll probably charge you a little bit of a fee for that. So, there are people that have just gone through just paying with a credit card. The fumigation thing seems weird, but it's just, they do that to the cars going to and from, and then you pay a little for that as well. So every little endorsement, you're going to pay a little money. All told, it's not that much. And when you're doing it on your own as an independent traveler, you're doing that so you have the freedom of movement. You don't have to wait on buses and things like that. So it just makes your vacation a lot more efficient. But, the driving is a little difficult in Guatemala compared to Belize because the roads are not as well maintained. There's a lot of potholes. You got to watch for them. But overall, it was great. It was no problem. at the border, you shouldn't miss, there's a really big Guanacaste tree. It's beautiful. It's one of the biggest ones maybe in the whole country, and it just is an umbrella over the whole border crossing. So even though you're caught up in what am I supposed to do, what am I supposed to do, it's pretty neat to just take that tree and it'll be on the right-hand side of the toll booth. And then coming back through, it's pretty much kind of the same thing in reverse. You kind of know what to expect already. At times there will be lines. There's usually a line for foreigners and a line for people of that country. So, you know, sometimes it can get a little crowded. But other than that, I don't think it took us more than 45 minutes each way, going to and coming back. Coming back, it was very crowded at first, and it was a little chaotic. But they direct you where to go, so if you're just patient, you can make it. But like I said, certain times of day, the border might get real busy. Other than that, it worked out. Adventures.
Okay, I have a couple questions about all this.
Sure.
Did you feel safe? Did you feel safe crossing the border? And did you feel safe while you were driving around in Guatemala?
Yeah, I felt safe the whole time for sure. Obviously, you want to be careful with, you know, like having luggage that can be seen in your car and things like that. But we kept our car locked. I always felt safe. Driving in Guatemala is different. So it's a lot different. And in Belize, it's going to be a lot different than driving in the States in that they just have 2-lane highways. That's it. So if you need to pass somebody, you have to pass. And there's a lot of winds and curves. So sometimes you just have to be very patient. And then really on the Guatemala side, you got to really be careful of potholes. Obviously on both sides, they have topes or speed bumps, and they have those all over the place just to slow people down when you're coming up on small towns. And if you hit one of those going fast, you are going to break your axle. But those are usually marked, or you can see where they're at because there's a bus station or something where somebody's waiting for a pedestrian crossing or something like that. That's where we'll have speed bumps. But in Guatemala, there's a lot of rough roads and a lot of potholes, some of them really big, some of them are in the shade, and they just come up quick. So you have to just be hyper vigilant about the driving there. And if you don't want to do that, then you should probably just get a Collectivo or hire somebody. But you can do it. But the driving is, you know, you got to, it can be a little stressful just because of the road conditions. So you got to slow down and you'll make it.
Okay, so I'm wondering if you think that it was worth it to, like, seems risky to cross the border and take a vehicle and drive over there, and was it worth it to do both Belize and Guatemala? What were you doing in Guatemala?
So Guatemala, to take a car from Belize into Guatemala, you can only use Crystal Car Rental. They're great. They get all the papers ready for you. They do charge you a little more to go across the border, and you have to get like a Type A vehicle, but whatever, it's fine. It was just a Kia Seltos, but it had good tires and it had all-wheel drive, and that was good enough. 4-wheel drive would be even better, depending on where you're going. I think it's definitely worth it if you have confident driver or drivers to do it, because depending on how much time you have on your vacation, you really maximize your time and places you can go. You have so much more flexibility, and you can go to different places, and you're not waiting on public transport. Public transport would be great if you have plenty of time on your hands and you're backpacking around, then that's great too. But with a car, you have so much more flexibility, and you can get to a lot more things in, you know, a 10 or 12-day vacation or whatever you're doing.
And so you and I, we have tried to summarize the steps here, and that's in the description section of this post. Can you briefly summarize the kind of the steps going in and coming back over?
Yeah, there's a series of steps. You know, it starts with going from the Belize side. You're going to go into Customs and Immigration. You're going to pay $20 exit fee per person at USD. and then the passengers walk through, the driver goes back, they go through the gate, somebody's going to have to lift the gate for you, then you're directed to the Guatemalan side, and that's where the fumigation arch is. Really, it's right on the border because they fumigate both ways. Once you're through there, the passengers don't go through that, but the driver does. Then you meet back up with your passengers. You pay a $3 USD fee for fumigation. Park your car in kind of an odd spot. Go into Guatemala Customs and Immigration, and you go through all of that with the passports and whatnot. There are people to hire. There's a couple ladies, Ingrid and Carla, and you can hire them for 10 or 12 US dollars, and they'll kind of make it easier for you to get through the process. I don't think you would need to do that, but it is easier to do that. Just makes it easier because they're bilingual. Then once you get through that, you're going to go over to a booth underneath the big tree, and you pay a little fee, and then pretty much you're set to go into Guatemala. And then on the way back, it's kind of the same thing in reverse. Like I said, it can be really tricky where you're supposed to put the car because there's not a lot of tourists doing this, so they don't have like a lot or even a space. They just kind of put you wherever they can put you in the meantime while you go and get things stamped. Coming through, they do give you a really important paper and a window shield sticker, and you got to keep those things. Those two are really important because when you're coming back through, they collect those two exact things and then they put it into their computer. And so keeping all the paperwork and information in one space is important. And it's also important that you don't mess with any of the paper that you get from the car rental agency because all that stuff is really official. But yeah,
That's that. And then one other pro tip that we realized was it was really nice. It was great to download Google Maps for offline use, just for that little region, because that way we had a map, a physical map, but it was also nice to have that navigation system as well. Anything else? Can you think of any other advice for travelers that would like to both hit the best of Belize and Tikal and some of the other Flores and some of the other highlights right over there?
Yeah, there's a lot to see. There's a lot to see. Obviously, Tikal is amazing, and there's some places right around Tikal which are amazing too. The Crystal Car Rental Agency from Belize only lets you take the car into that Petén region of Guatemala. So you can't go all the way to Guatemala City or to the highlands like Lake Atitlan. You can't do that. They won't let you do that. You only have to go to that certain area, which is where Tikal is. But even there's a lot to do, lots to see, and it is great to have a car and have wheels to be able to get to different sites and whatnot. But overall, it was great. It was a great trip, and I would recommend it as long as you're okay driving in foreign countries and trying to learn the way they drive, which is a little different.
So nice and easy, nice and slow.
Yep.
And I also felt safe the entire time. I didn't, except for initially when you were maybe driving 40, 50 miles an hour and swerving potholes in Guatemala. But
you got to learn to slow
other than
down.
that, and then we quickly realized that if we wanted to not be changing spare tires the whole time, that we needed to slow down quite a bit. So yeah, I agree. It was totally great. So thanks a lot. I appreciate all of your input, and hopefully these suggestions and advice will help some other travelers with their explorations.